Well, first off, this is not the first politician in the developed world to be at arms, up at arms with what China's done. It's just the first politician to ever kind of stand their ground on it to a certain extent. This is something that's been talked about by EU officials, by US officials, but the president's really taking aim at this. So oddly enough, I just got done reading Lee Iacocca's book that we were just chatting about briefly. His last 2 chapters were all about Japan and the poor trade practices that America was participating in the late 1980s. And then his final chapter was called Making America Great Again. So let's just call this plagiarism for what it is. And the beautiful part about the investment business is plagiarism is totally legal, and that's true in politics, by the way, as well, as the president is proving. Just replace Japan with China. What Japan was in the 1980s to the world is what, in effect, President Trump is arguing to the world with China. Does the whole story
play out the same way? I.e., the inflation story eventually, the growth story?
Well, you're cheating ahead. Declining population, that's the oddity to this. Now, you got to remember, they peaked their real estate market and their equity market at the same time in 1989. I think the old story was that the Emperor's Palace was worth more than the entire state of California in terms of real estate value. Okay. That's not true in China. In other words, they peaked their equity markets a while ago. Their property markets have kind of been to and froing. It hasn't been any great bull market necessarily in their property market. So, I think the demographic comparisons are the most interesting for this conversation. But, really, I think the theft of property and IP is the biggest issue in all this. How will that affect businesses going forward?
The politics are very different though in Japan versus China. I mean, Japan, they can barely hold on to a prime minister over the course of a couple of years. In China, you've got entrenched system of power. So when we talk about who's holding all the chips here, is it President Xi or is it President Trump?
Well, here's how I like to think about it. I love the question, Karen, because think about it if the whole world was ran by 9 men. Think of how terrible that would be. But that's
called the Bilderberg.
But like in the Me Too era, that's allowed. Okay, it's kind of shocking, but at the same time, that country's, like we said, it's run by 9 men. So think of all the things I might like and how that'd be bad for everybody else in a market system where people get to choose their own preferences and tastes. That's the difference. In other words, in the command economy, or in effect in a decided economy, is the market really playing out like it should? That would be my big debate, but that does have a huge impact on it as a place. We're talking about the autos here a second ago. Well, the autos are greatly affected by that because that's the marginal demand in global autos right now is whether China's growing or not. Really, the U.S. and China are the 2 biggest auto buyers ultimately as we...
8 successive months of declining sales in China.
Correct. With all kinds of trade fears. So you get what bothers the revenues and bothers the multiples at the same time, to your point. So the whole thing is very interesting. The question is, what will things look like in 5 years? That's what investors should be thinking about. If someone can't figure out, the world is going to kind of normalize, we're going to get out to something not perfect, because it'll never be perfect, but something with other troubles from today, that would look interesting. The way we participate in this is on the auto loan side with the big banks. Obviously, you had the gentleman in prior talking about the banks. That's where we get really our leverage via autos, but it has a lot to do with the demographics in these type of things are really important.
Hi, I'm Joanna Bersecci, and thank you for watching. You can check out more of our videos by clicking on the boxes on the screen. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more from CNBC International. Thank you for watching.